fire. A choir of notes builds higher, higher. Gratitude hums like a melody. The sky cracks open, raining green. The kind of wonder you've never seen. Abundance feels like destiny. Abundance feels like destiny. Coin jingle like a sweet parade. Bills float down like a masquerade. Gold dust settles on my everyday. I'm a money magnet, can't you see? Cash flows like rivers, wild and free. Thank you, oh yeah. Thank you, oh yeah. Universe, oh yeah. It's me. Checks appear like notes in the breeze, while they're bursting at the seams with ease. Even pennies wink, they aim to please. Oh surprise, oh delight, prosperity takes flight. Oh yeah, oh yeah. I'm a money magnet, can't you see? Cash flows like rivers, wild and free. Thank you, oh yeah. Thank you, oh yeah. Universe, oh yeah. It's me. Gold confetti falling from the sky. Bank account soaring, I'm flying high. Blessings in my pocket, don't ask why. Oh yeah. Oh, 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 golden hands, they reach my way. Every morning, every day. The sun spills silver on my floor. I open wide, I let it in. A treasure chest beneath my skin. Money flows, it flows through me like a river endlessly. I am worthy, I am free. Wealth is my reality. Whoa, 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 whoa. Wealth is my reality. Opportunities knock my door, each one better than before. Abundance whispers in the air. I plant the seeds, they start to grow. A forest green, a gilded glow. I'm the maker, I'm the key. Limitless wealth, it starts with me. Money flows, it flows through me like a river endlessly. I am worthy, I am free. Wealth is my reality. Wealth is my reality.
I put a goal for the air, it hums my name. Every dollar's a spark in my endless flame. I plant my dreams in the dirt, watch them grow insane. I'm a magnet, I'm a force, I'm a wave, I'm the tide that keeps pulling the pay. Money loves me, it can't stay away. Abundance chooses me every day. I'm a maker. A mover, a living design. Prosperity's mine, prosperity's mine, prosperity's mine. Whisper, fortune's on your side. I step through doors where the blessings hide. I think rich thoughts, let my soul decide. I'm open, I'm ready, the world's my store. Success keeps knocking, I unlock the door. Miracles fall like rain, they pour. Money loves me, it can't stay away. Abundance chooses me every day. I'm a maker. A mover, a living design. Prosperity's mine, prosperity's mine, prosperity's mine.
Gold dust in the air tonight, it whispers soft. It feels so right, the world spins, a secret show. Money shows up in magical ways, a golden river, endless days. Financial miracles find me, hey, thank you, thank you. Let it stay. Hey, let it stay. Silver rain falls through my hands, carrying dreams that understands. Each coin a story, each bill a chance. I welcome abundance. Let it flow like the tide, like the like the glow, like the glow. Money shows up in magical ways, a golden river, endless days. Financial.
Yes. What's going on, family? Super happy to be on today's call for crypto and assets, which, as we know, is every Saturday, usually at midday Central, sometimes at 1 p.m. Central, which is today. So put a 10 in the chat. If you guys can see me, you can hear me. I want to make sure the audios, the technicals, and everything is working well. I know we are live on YouTube, so this is not just for the private community Powerhouse. This is for the public as well, so you guys can get the value on the market. So quick breakdown of what myself and Gil do here every Saturday is we give game on the three forms of analysis when it comes to the markets, whether you're an investor or a trader. And those three forms that we dive into is number one, fundamental. Fundamental is the news. It's what's going on in the world that can affect the markets. It's the events. Then we look at technical analysis. Now, the technicals is for all you traders out there. It's for all you data analytic green personalities who like to look at the numbers, the specifics, and the trading and investing strategies. And then the third form of analysis, this is something that comes with a bit of time, with a bit of experience, with a bit of wisdom. They say smart people learn from themselves, wise people learn from other people's mistakes. And so sentimental analysis is the feeling behind the market, understanding the feeling of this cycle compared to the previous cycles, because history doesn't repeat itself, but it definitely has similarities. So we are going to start this call off with the fundamental form of analysis. And I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and give you guys what's been going on in the past week in the crypto, but also in the market when it comes to stocks, when it comes to equities, when it comes to other asset classes, because this is what crypto and assets is about. So hopefully you guys can see my screen. And what we have here is we have four main topics that I would like to touch on. The first topic is about AI. Now, we understand that this current crypto market is very AI data management focused, right? Like this has been one of the biggest industries of growth with this market compared to the market of 2020, 2021, where we saw Bitcoin go ballistic. I mean, back in 2020, guys, 2021, Bitcoin went from $3,000 all the way to the high 60s. You know, it was just absolutely insane. And a lot of these altcoins, these alternative projects, which are smaller projects, they did even higher ROIs, even higher multiples in X's. But, you know, back then it was a different time. Like back then it was kind of like NFTs, it was Web3, it was gaming projects. But nowadays, you know, we're looking at the AI technological space. This is the fast growing industry that we want to pay attention to. And so Anthropic is the company behind the model Claude, and OpenAI is the company behind the model ChatGPT. So I want you to understand the difference between the company and the actual models themselves, right? And so Anthropic now has a higher valuation than OpenAI for the very first time. And this is interesting because it just shows you the competitiveness, but also the size of these AI markets. And I'm going to show you guys an article here because, you know, we like to go to Decrypt as one of our sources of research and analysis. The reason why is because we would say it's fairly non-biased, right? Compared to a lot of other crypto news articles and companies out there who, you know, certain advertisements and certain people are funding it. There's a stronger form of bias there. So, you know, Anthropic beats OpenAI with a $1 trillion valuation. Like this is absolutely insane. And OpenAI has a valuation approximately of $880 billion. And I wanted to dive into something here because it mentions about primary markets compared to secondary markets. And so here's what it says. I really want you guys to understand these terms, okay? It says Anthropic shares are trading at $1 trillion on secondary platforms like Forge, overtaking OpenAI, which sits at $880 billion on the same venue. Now, Forge Global, what is that? All that is a secondary platform. And so what is a primary platform and what's a secondary platform? What is primary trading and what's secondary trading? Well, here's what it is. And I want you guys to understand the difference here. As traders, if you're a leverage trader, whether you're on, you know, trading futures, whether you're trading options, whether you're trading CFDs, whether you're trading binary, doesn't matter the form of trading, you are on secondary markets. You are trading in the secondary markets on secondary platforms, not primary. So a primary market is when, let's give an example of stocks. It's where before a stock IPOs, before it goes public, where the shares are tradable, some people, some investors, guys, they have the opportunity to buy primary shares, to buy the shares in a primary market before it IPOs. Before it's available for the public, there's investors involved, and that's on the primary market. Whereas on the secondary market, that's us. That's the investors when the company's already gone public. That's the investors when the company's public and the shares are tradable. And we want to buy like blue chips like Amazon or like Google or whatever it is. And that's where we're on, you know, platforms such as Fidelity, such as, what else do we have out there? It's losing my memory with this one, but there's another one, but there's a bunch of others like eToro and things like that. And so when we are buying shares on those platforms, that's in the secondary markets, right? Those shares are publicly traded and the company's already IPO'd. So that's a really key distinction here. Let me see if there's anything else that I'm missing here that I wanted to mention. Yeah, just like an example, like Apple, for example, when it IPO'd in 1980, believe it or not, there's some investors who had the opportunity to buy in the primary markets. You buy directly from the company. That's the difference. It's buying directly from the company, primary, and then secondary is you're not buying from the company, you're buying from other traders and investors, right? You're buying from other investors who already have those shares. So it's kind of like I can buy from Gil in the secondary market because we own shares, but then in the primary markets, I'm buying directly from the company itself. So that's a big differentiator, but this kind of shows you the magnitude of these AI companies and their valuations in the secondary markets, right, that are already IPO'd and gone public. So let's move on to the next form of news. Here we have US government running a Bitcoin node. So node, like what is that? Yeah, that sounds like something quite complicated or complex. And so what we have in this article is we have the commander of US forces has basically publicly stated that the US government are running a node. Now, what is a node? And what's the difference between a node and a miner? Well, that's the key. So here's what it is. We know, guys, blockchain technology is the biggest the biggest differentiator between crypto and between the traditional markets and the way finance runs. And so blockchain, what it is it's a technology that cannot be altered or changed once a transaction has occurred. So if I'm sending money to Gil, like person A sending money to person B, the blockchain is faster, the blockchain is typically cheaper, the blockchain is more secure, and it's more reliable. And the last thing, which is really important, is there's no middleman, there's no intermediary. You know, this is not the typical fiat system, right? This is not a wire transfer. If I'm sending money from Wells Fargo to First United Bank, guys, there's large fees. It can take 3 to 5 business days, and the Federal Reserve is the intermediary within that transaction, right? They're regulating everything, they're seeing everything. So it's a complete bipolar black and white difference from blockchain to fiat currency and how money is transferred in the traditional world. So now we know what blockchain technology is. Now I want to break down what a Bitcoin node is compared to a Bitcoin miner. Bitcoin is the gold of crypto. We understand that it's the reserve. If Bitcoin moves, these other cryptos move, you know, even more, even faster. And there's tens of thousands of other crypto projects out there. Now, a Bitcoin node, there really are 3 main functions. Number 1, it stores a copy of the blockchain. Number 2, it verifies transactions. And number 3, it enforces the rules upon transactions. Think of a Bitcoin node as a small computer. And I'm going to show you guys what this thing looks like. It's really interesting. It's literally just like a tiny block. Like it's so small. There we go. This is what a Bitcoin node is, guys. This is an example. And it typically holds 1 terabyte of data. And it just looks like a normal like hardware drive, right? Like it's nothing special. But here's the thing. The entire blockchain is held within that one small 1 terabyte data device. The entire blockchain. Now, each node cross-references transactions with each other. So node A in my house, in Dallas, my apartment, is cross-referencing transactions with node B, which could be in London at my friend's place, is cross-referencing transactions with node C in Dubai, for example. And so these 3 different nodes, it's verifying transactions, they're enforcing the rules, and they're cross-referencing, which means checking with each other that everything's correct. This is all automatic. None of this is manual human intervention. This is all done through technology. Now, here's the thing. The more nodes that are in the world, the more nodes that people have, the harder it is to change the rules of that network. So if there's only 2 nodes in the world, well, remember the third part of what a node does is enforces rules. If there's only 2 nodes in the world, guys, well, how strong of a network is that? Because the whole point of crypto is decentralization, which means that no 1 or 2 or 3 individuals can actually change how Bitcoin moves and works. So if there's 2 nodes, is that equaling a strong network where it's really hard for the rules of Bitcoin to change? Or does that equal a weak network where it's really easy for the rules of the network to change? Guys, you know the answer. That makes it easy for the rules of the network of Bitcoin to change. There's only 2 nodes. So what's the purpose of a node? A node, it doesn't bring income for the node holder. There is no monetary financial gain for the person who has a node. But what does it do, guys? There's tens of thousands of, probably hundreds of thousands of nodes around the globe in different countries. Different ages of people have nodes. What does that do, guys? That strengthens the Bitcoin network because it makes it hard for the rules of the network to change. Put a 10 in the chat if that's making some form of sense. I'm not expecting this to make 100% sense, but just some form of sense, just like a 20%. Put a 10 in the chat if this makes 20% of sense to you, at least, right? The more nodes, the stronger the network, because it's harder to change the network's rules. Simple. And to buy a Bitcoin network, a node, sorry, like it can literally cost like $200 to $300, like 1 terabyte of data. That's it. So back to the actual like point here of what I was mentioning is that the US government have a Bitcoin node. Why? To test the cybersecurity uses of the network. Remember, I told you the more nodes in the world, the stronger the network. And because I believe Bitcoin has the most number of nodes in the globe, well, it's the strongest network, the most reliable. So the US government is wanting to test this reliability when it comes to cybersecurity. Why? Because I'm assuming they probably don't want people to commit fraud or any form of like breaking the laws and regulations within Bitcoin and crypto. So they have their own node to test that, to see that. And I found that really interesting because to me, that's actually comforting. That's good to know that there is some form of entity actually testing out, like, can cyber fraud be committed on this network? How much can we trust it? Now, here we say the US commander says we're not mining Bitcoin because a Bitcoin node is not Bitcoin mining. Bitcoin mining is very different to Bitcoin nodes. I'm going to explain to you the difference. We know what a Bitcoin node is now. It verifies transactions. The more nodes in the world, it strengthens the network, and the node has a copy of the blockchain, which is every single transaction that's happening within crypto, right? And so what is a Bitcoin miner then, Jean-Luc? It says they're not mining Bitcoin, so what's the difference? Okay, so a Bitcoin miner looks like this. And I understand this might be a little bit intermediary or advanced, but it's really key to understand. A Bitcoin miner, this is the Bitcoin mining center, right? But a Bitcoin miner is just like one of these devices that you see here. Hey, here we go. Bitcoin miner. This is exactly what it is. Bitcoin miner, right? So it's a bigger device than the node, but it's still fairly small. And I know, look, like $200 you can buy a Bitcoin miner. But guys, I know some people, and I'm sure you might do as well, who actually mine Bitcoin. Now, what's the difference? Bitcoin mining is where they're actually, and I say they, I mean the system, the technology, is actually mining Bitcoin, which means extracting it into supply for people to buy and sell and trade and invest. Now, every transaction that happens in Bitcoin, every buy of Bitcoin on Coinbase, every buy of Bitcoin on Kraken, every buy of Bitcoin through the ledger, every buy of Bitcoin through MetaMask, guys, there is a miner, right? Somebody owns this device, and that miner actually earns rewards. They earn a fee per Bitcoin transaction. Every Bitcoin transaction from person A to person B to person C, there is somebody who owns this device who is getting a fee every transaction. Why do they get a fee? That's the next question. Well, they actually had to extract, they had to solve complex data to actually get that Bitcoin into supply. They extract Bitcoin from the blockchain and bring it into supply for me and you to trade and to buy and to sell. So for that work, for those hours, for those like technological skills to solve those algorithms, they earn a reward per transaction. That's how it works. And if we go to CoinGecko, and we go to Bitcoin, guys, you guys are going to see something here. Max supply 21 million Bitcoins. That is Satoshi Nakamoto, right? Whoever created Bitcoin, that alias, that anonymous person that we don't know who that entity or person is, right? I have my theories, but I'm not going to throw out things like it's the CIA, it's the US government, but like, you can go in that rabbit hole, right? But either way, 21 million Bitcoins is the max supply that there'll ever be for people to trade, buy, sell. But guess what? Total supply, 20 million and 20,000. What does that mean? There's only around about 1 million Bitcoins left to be extracted into the atmosphere, into the ecosystem, into the blockchain for people to buy, sell, and trade. That's it. And I believe the year it's almost 100 years from now. It's about 80 to 100 years from now, all of Bitcoin will be in supply. Now, guys, what happens when there's limited supply of a product? Think about it. Think about Jordans, right? Michael Jordan. Think about the shoes. Us Americans love Jordans, buy, sell, trade it. There's a whole marketplace. Guys, if there's only 1 million pairs of Jordan 4s in atmosphere, but for Jordan 3s, there's only 10,000 Jordan 3s in supply, which one is going to be in higher demand? The 1 million Jordan 4s or the 10,000 Jordan 3s, guys? Well, if there's only 10,000 Jordan 3s in supply compared to the 1 million of Jordan 4s, the demand for the Jordan 3s are going to be higher. Basic economic supply and demand, guys. When there's less supply of something, the demand increases. Because whatever you can't have or whatever's difficult to gain, usually if there's utility, the price appreciates, the value appreciates over time. So those Jordan 3s are going to be in high demand, which means a higher price, and the Jordan 4s are going to be in lower supply, are going to be in a higher supply, which means lower demand, which means lower valuation, guys. So it's just like Bitcoin. If there's less supply of something, if there's limited supply, if we know that there's only going to be Bitcoin extracted into the atmosphere 80 to 100 years from now, that after that there's no more to go, we're all just going to be buying it from each other. That's it. It's done. And so what do you think will happen to the price of Bitcoin inevitably over the next few decades? Go up and up and up and up and up. Yes, we will have cycles. Yes, we will have bear markets. We will have bull markets. We will have consolidation periods where it's just moving sideways. But long story short, long term, the valuation will continue to appreciate. Now, if we go and we look at the past 10 years of the S&P 500, the past 10 years of the NASDAQ 100, the past 10 years of QQQ, the past 10 years of these index funds, what type of percentage for stocks, right? Index funds is a collection of stocks into one stock. S&P 500, the 500 largest companies collected into one stock that you can then have a piece of. If we look at the past 10 years, what are the annual returns we're looking at when we invest into those index funds, guys? We're looking at what? 8%, 9%, 10%, 11%, 12%, 13%, 14%. You're looking at something between like 8 and 14%, guys. Annual return. Annual return. And guess what? Every single millionaire in the world has some form of exposure to an index fund. Of course, we should have that. 100% we should have that. But guess what? What's the 10-year average returns on Bitcoin? Now we're getting into some interesting stuff. 10-year average returns on Bitcoin. Let's have a look. What percent? And I actually don't know the answer. Total return. Oh my word. Wow. Guys, and this is not live. This is like live in the flesh. Do you see that number? And I'm not saying it's going to go up 1,500% every year, but guys, 1,500%? I mean, obviously now, it's going to be lower as time goes on because there's more institutional money. Bitcoin's going to move a little bit slower. It's going to be less volatile, blah, 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 more TFs, things like that. But let's just compare this to the S&P 500. S&P 500, the last 10 years. What's the returns? Last 10 years. Average returns. Come on. Oh. What's that, guys? What does that say? 14 to 15%. Crazy. So I'm not comparing this to say do X instead of Y. No. I'm saying do X and do Y. I'm saying like seek to invest in Bitcoin and in the S&P and in QQQ and in these index funds. But you decide, not financial advice, of course, but wow. I mean, just make it make sense, guys. Make it make sense. Now, the goal of every crypto investor, now, because on this call, we're of different ages, we're of different demographics, we're in different financial situations, we have different levels of risk. But I'm going to be honest with you. What is the overarching goal of every investor? You can say more decentralized or more, maybe a little bit aggressive investor, maybe to moderate. What's the goal? The goal is to acquire and accumulate 1 BTC. If there's anything you take from this call, the goal is to acquire and accumulate 1 BTC. I'm not saying that has to happen in the next 6 months. I'm not saying that has to happen in the next 6 years. I'm saying all of us on this call, and this is like, genuine, like from the love of bottom of my heart, yeah? Accumulate 1 BTC. Just a little bit, $100 a week, $100 a month, you name it. Whatever you can do. And the reason why I say this is because that's my goal too. And guess what? If we just looked at the annual returns of BTC, guys, and the benefits to the blockchain and XYZ, what I explained, you guys don't think that you can pass that down to your kids, to your kids' kids? Guys, and when you accumulate it, don't do it on centralized exchanges. Put it on a ledger, because the ledger, like, everyone treats it different. But for me, the ledger is something that you just store away. You never really look at. You just accumulate, right? It's just long term. Because, hey, store it in a ledger and have your little stone book and stone pen for protection and put it in a fireproof case and just protect that for life. That's your little baby, Because this is the real long-term, strength and utility of blockchain technology. And Bitcoin over the years is only going to go up and up and up and up and up. So you don't want to try buy it when it's $500,000 because you're going to need 500,000 liquid dollars to put into that to get 1 BTC. So that's my little piece of advice. Now, I had so much more news. Let's go on to the next piece of news, guys. Tron founder sues Trump's World Liberty Finance crypto project. Tron's founder is called Justin Sun, guys. And to keep things fairly succinct, is that the reason why I wanted to bring this up is because of 2 things. Number 1, really important, political affiliated projects are volatile, unpredictable, and you have to know the level of risk that you're willing to take before getting involved. Why? Because there's pros and cons. A politically affiliated project which has backing from Trump or has backing from any other political party or whatever, there's good things about it, which is, okay, there's institutional money. We know that they have the funds to recover the project. We know some of the investors are like publicly like A-list level status people, which is good. But there's also cons. Volatility, them getting sued, the political adversities. And I say that because, World Liberty Finance, guys, is a project that we've spoken about before. And things like this can pop up with these projects. Justin Sun, who's the founder of Tron has so many legal challenges that they've faced since 2023, guys. And so supposedly, Tron, the founder of Tron, Justin Sun, was given an ultimatum. Now, he has tens and tens of millions of dollars invested in World Liberty Finance, guys, because obviously, if a crypto project started with, the Trump family or anyone of that level, they obviously have investors who are massive, right? Like millionaires and billionaires and things of that nature. And so supposedly Justin Sun, this guy is saying like, hey, like they gave me an ultimatum. They said to me, if I don't put money into World Liberty Finance, like if I don't put more capital into it, then they're going to ask the World Liberty Finance team, right, the founders and the leadership, to vote on whether or not they should completely remove and revoke all of his tokens in the project. Like he's suing World Liberty Finance for giving him that ultimatum of saying like, look, like Justin, if you don't put more millions into our project, we're going to vote to remove all of your tokens. You'll have no exposure to this project whatsoever. Like that's supposedly what he's saying that's happened. And also he's saying that they threatened him to say, if you don't put more money in as well, we're going to report you to the US authorities, because there's a bunch of lawsuits against Justin Sun for what he did with Tron and his ties to other countries and the US government, which this is kind of like what I'm saying, like politically affiliated projects, you have to be careful because Tron in itself, like, I don't necessarily trust that network. I don't trust that network too much. And so that's just another reminder of like the networks that you use, the stable coins that you use. It's really important because if you choose the wrong one that has China affiliations or that has lawsuits behind it or doesn't have, for example, proof of reserves or has a lot of things that are disclosed, or if they have all of these issues, like your funds are at risk. They're 100% liable. And that moves me nicely onto my last piece of news, which is $344 million was frozen in USDT on the Tron network. How many times did we say that we prefer not to use USDT? We prefer to use USDC as our main stable coin to hold our funds as a safe haven. We've said it so many times. That is not to say USDC is 100% protected and exempt from any form of frozen assets, guys. I'm not saying that, but what I am saying is that USDT has had funds frozen on that network, on that stable coin time and time again. And this reinforces about the Tron network. So look at this article on CoinDesk, guys. The reason why the funds were frozen, 2 Tron wallets were frozen for supposed implicit money flows, and OFAC, which is the Office of Office of Financial. What's OFAC? What's OFAC? I forgot what OFAC means. I want to get it right. OFAC, Office of Foreign Asset Control. There we go. That's what I'm talking about. So they basically froze those assets on those 2 wallets. And look, I'm mentioning the Tron network because of this. Like when we're talking about stable coins, there's different networks on stable coins. So on USDC, you can exchange on the Ethereum network. You can transact on the Tron network. You can transact on the Polygon network. Like there's different networks to transact. That just gave me an idea. Another call, I'm gonna have to talk about the different networks. But long story short, on USDT, on the Tron network, guys, Tron has a bunch of lawsuits and things against them that like, it's just red flags. Like, this is why I want you to be aware, right? And there's 3 main red flags with this network that I don't like, which is why I'm mentioning about like, be cautious with Tron as a project. Also be cautious of USDT transacting on Tron network. Like both of them, in my opinion, slightly red flags. And so the 3 reasons for this is Tron has been sued by the SEC for unregulated securities. That's the first thing. The second thing is market manipulation. And the third thing is Tron in the past, Justin Sun, the founder, guys, he has paid celebs like Jake Paul to promote their project without proper public disclosure. And that's really like red flag because you're not meant to pay celebs to promote stuff. We saw this in the NFT space without certain public exposure because otherwise you're basically manipulating investors, right? Like that's why. So look, these forms of news, guys, I want you to keep an eye out. I want you to understand this because it's good education for you guys to be aware of. I've gone past my time. So at this point, I'm going to pass it over to my brother Gil. Put some 5 in the chat for Gil, guys, because I know he's going to give you guys some massive game. And yeah, guys, Gil, you already know he's been in the market for years now, 5 to 6 years, I think closer to 6 years as an investor, as a trader. And so he has a bunch of experience and knowledge that I want you guys to pay attention to. So put some 5s in the chat for my boy Gil.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And I appreciate you for coming on here and giving a lot of game. I hope you guys learned something. These are things I always say this when John Luke goes through like the news and what's going on. This is what most people are not talking about, to be honest. And I respect it because I know John Luke has a lot of a lot of experience for going through this, and he actually enjoys it. And that's why we have it the way we have it here in Crypto and Assets. And I'm gonna really just gonna be jumping straight into the charts. Now, shout out to Neri. I see your question. I'm gonna go ahead and actually talk about that today as well. But I'm going to go ahead and start on the chart. So my segment on these, just so you all know, is more on the charts when it comes to crypto and then when it comes to stocks as well. I am going to spend a little bit more time on crypto because there's some things I've been looking at just to give us a perspective of things, maybe some things you've heard, maybe some things you haven't heard. So the first thing I'm going to do is start with Bitcoin. We always start with Bitcoin because Bitcoin is the the lead of all cryptos. When Bitcoin moves, everything lags after. Till this day, it still is there, and I'm going to talk about that here as well. So first things first, we can see that we've seen rejection from the area that we've been talking about for a while, right? There's a couple things that I want to go through with this chart. So looking at the weekly chart here on Bitcoin, one of the first things I like to bring up that I've been talking about on every single session here on crypto and assets is this RSI indicator. Now, this is the only indicator I use in general. I only use it for higher time frame. Love to use it for like portfolio building because it just shows supply and demand areas. One thing I realized about the markets when you're looking at investment or even if you're trading, you want to look at the past to then see what can happen. Not saying it's going to exactly be what's going to happen, but it leaves clues because the markets leave patterns, right? One thing that we've been able to see is that the last time in this RSI indicator that we were down here, okay, was actually here. All right. And as we can see, this was a time that we had the most depression, fear, a lot of negativity going on in crypto, and really the time that we were seeing downside and really just, you can say, the bottom of the market here. Now, also here, we were below this dotted line down here, showing very, very low supply, high supply, low demand zones when it comes to this market. Now, as we can see looking right, this was actually the quote unquote bottom of this market. Now, fast forward to today, we are doing something very similar, which I've talked about this that I really liked because the last time we did this, just to give you guys perspective, Bitcoin was down around 74 to 75%. Today, the fact that it did this, same supply and low supply and demand zones, but we're only down 53, 52%. That is honestly very super bullish, in my opinion, because we're having less retracements, but same indications that we did in the last bottom of the last run that we had. So, there's a lot of different perspectives. I don't have time to go through every single one of them, every single session. I like to give different perspective, but I really like the rejection that we're having here within BTC. Okay, we're seeing above the EMA. This is shooting above. We like this. I want this to stay above here and trickle. Now, one correlation that I was doing actually before the session is I was kind of comparing what's happening now to what happened here. So I'm gonna give you guys a perspective shift. And this is something I've been like, even myself, I've been like, okay, like how can it align? The last time we had Bitcoin hit all-time highs was the first time that we actually had two tops. Because in the previous history of Bitcoin, there's only been one euphoria moment. There was only one top. The market was down and the market went up. It topped out and retraced. That was it. There was no other move. That was the move for the next 4 years. The last run, though, gave something completely different that we've never seen within BTC. We saw the market shoot up, hit an all-time high, right? Higher than the previous high. And then what happened? It retraced and gave another high. Now, there's a couple perspectives with this that I realize, and again, everything that I say is just my perspective. It's not that I know what's happening. I don't have a genie bottle, but it's just my perspective. Now, what happened here, right? What happened with the second run that I think is looking very good, similar to kind of what we're seeing here? Well, one thing that happened is that altcoins was really the time that it gave its momentum, right? Altcoins in that same time, that second pump is what did this, right? From July of 2021 to November of 2021. Let's go look at Chainlink. Okay, July of 2021. So cool. So wait 1 second. So Ethereum, July 2021. Okay, cool. So what happened with other altcoins, just looking at this, I didn't even look at this part, is the market gave, the heck? Okay, cool. The market gave this pump on Chainlink actually even before Ethereum did its thing. So really, the interesting fact here, yeah, interesting. In the last run, all coins, and this is a perspective, all coins moved with this first move. Chainlink, Aave, even Ethereum, of course, right? Really moved with this first move. Then Bitcoin retraced, and then all coins created a lower high. If you look at, for example, Chainlink, right? The market ran with the first leg of Bitcoin, topped out, came down, and Link actually created a lower high. At the same time that Bitcoin was creating a higher high. Very interesting. But in today's world, to go back into today, Bitcoin created all-time highs, and no other altcoin except for, you can maybe count Ethereum. I wouldn't even count it because it wicked it. But every other altcoin did not create all-time highs, other than Solana, really. So what does this show me? This shows me that we're actually like in the opposite right now from what happened before. Bitcoin ran, all coins created all-time highs, Bitcoin retraced, Bitcoin created all-time highs, but then all coins didn't create an all-time high. So what is my perspective and why am I bringing this all up? Number one is that everything follows Bitcoin. I've been waiting for Bitcoin to get out of this zone for a very long time. The reason why is because I'm looking to accumulate altcoins. Now that the fact that we are building above this consolidation area here, I am really liking altcoins. So for Neri, I know you asked a question, is Chainlink still good or we can wait for lower? I personally like Chainlink now more than ever, more than it's been this whole time, because we're actually showing momentum on the upside with Bitcoin. Now, does that mean that we can see lower areas for Chainlink? Yes, we can. We 100% can. But personally, because the momentum now on Bitcoin is starting to grow and everything is going to follow Bitcoin. So just to give you guys perspective, this is a learning moment for a lot of y'all. There's something called the Bitcoin dominance chart. This shows the dominance of Bitcoin. Right now, we can see that the dominance of Bitcoin is going up. So this is the thing. Money is coming into the market and money starts going into Bitcoin. It doesn't start going into altcoins. It doesn't start going into anything else. It starts going into Bitcoin because it's the one that's mostly talked about, right? So this is where the money is going to go first. But what happens? The money transitions, right? So first you want to see Bitcoin move. Now, could we have gone in lower areas on altcoins? Yeah, of course. But myself, I was waiting. I was being patient because I wanted to see what Bitcoin was going to do. I wanted to see, because Bitcoin is the leading indicator of everything else, and it still is. That can change, but for now, because of just looking at the charts, it definitely still is being that type of indicator. Really, it's like starting out the move, and it's always been doing that for the last since whenever. So to give you guys perspective, now the fact that we've seen Bitcoin starting to go up, we want to continue to see it stay above, but during this whole time, you can see the altcoins, yeah, they're moving up, but nothing crazy. So this is actually one of the best times, in my opinion, to start DCAing. I like really Chainlink under 10, 12, $13 is a massive steal. Now, if we see lower, that is okay. But one thing I started to do is myself, just to speak off of myself, this is saying you have to do it, is I've already started to DCA. I started to DCA in projects like Link, like Aave, which I'm going to go through pretty heavy here in a bit, and projects like Caspa, and even projects like Pipe as well, which I won't go to these ones too much today, but I did want to talk about Aave. So talking about Aave, I've talked about this project before, but I wanted to give perspective. Now, before I give perspective with Aave, one thing I wanted to bring up is the crypto fear and greed index. If you guys have never seen this, I recommend to have this saved and something that you look at, not to like make your decisions with an investment or whatever it is, but I want you to realize that the markets have emotion. And remember, you want to be greedy when people are fearful, and you want to be fearful when people are greedy. That's a quote from Warren Buffett, one of the best investors in history. And this is something that we use a lot and we talk about a lot. And I've seen so many different times, and we can see, I don't know about y'all, but there's been extreme fear since February. There's literally been extreme fear. This is specifically, all of the crypto market, and we can see that we're getting out the extreme fear, right? So this is a really good indicator to see the sentiment of the market, and we can have an idea of where things are at. You can also see it for the stock market. As you can see it, look at this. This is crazy. On March 30th, we were at number 9, one of the lowest in a long time. But look what happened. April, boom, we're already at a greed level, which is crazy. So the stock market has had its own market. Crypto hasn't created greed in a very long time. I think it was like last year, the last time that we've seen greed within crypto. So this is something that you can kind of just look at. Now, I did want to bring Aave up, and I did bring this perspective because I don't know if you guys saw recently, but Aave had like a hack. I don't know if you guys heard about it. If you're a part of, obviously, if you're watching this and you're watching on Zinrai with Max Sotero, he talked about the hack. Aave had a hack that happened recently, and it really took a massive hit with TVL, total volume lock. They basically took the liquidity out. It was a whole thing. But one thing that I liked about it is that, the reaction of it is actually very positive. Number one, the CEO decided himself to put money and fix things and do things like that. Number two is that there's been a lot of help with Aave. You can see that literally Aave has had a lot of different help with what happened with the hack, which is going to happen in crypto. But what I'm also seeing is that Aave is moving past it. They're planning to actually integrate the Solana network, which right now Aave is only in the Ethereum network. Aave is a DeFi protocol. Think about it like a banking provider, right? Because it provides lending, borrowing, all that type of stuff like a bank. But now they're going to be going into Solana, which is just making it bigger. And what I like about this, and just like a breakthrough I had right now, is that I feel like they're going to do what Chainlink has done. Because if you guys didn't know, Chainlink used to only be a part of the Ethereum blockchain. This is why I'm very bullish on Chainlink. Because it used to only be a part of Ethereum, and now it's not. Now it's not just a part of Ethereum. It's a part of basically every ecosystem. BNB, Solana, Base, Polygon, Arbitrum, Avalanche, every single ecosystem it's already a part of, while before it was only really in Ethereum. It was the data provider of Ethereum. Now it's a data provider of almost everything. And actually now they're actually the data providers of Amazon Web Services, which is insane. And if you guys don't know what that means, Chainlink, all it does, it provides data. It helps provide data. That's really what its thing is. And if you guys didn't realize, data is a huge commodity right now. And that's why Chainlink is just doing so many different partnerships. Well, they just partnered with Amazon Web Services Marketplace. Now, these are things that already are happening. That's what I say, that crypto is already being used. People don't realize that the blockchain is already being used. Now it just depends on the cryptocurrency to reflect that. But the blockchain is already being used. It's already been talked about by multiple people. But this is very good because we like to see traditional with decentralized come together. And just to be honest, I really believe that crypto is going to then not be decentralized as much as it has been. But that is okay because as an investor, I don't care. I'm more here as an investor. I'm not attached to the blockchain. I'm not attached to crypto. But the more that something is used in the traditional side, that means that the more money is coming in. So that's just something to really keep in mind. So going back to Aave, not only have they now are going to be looking to partner with Solana, I started to look at some things. So this is kind of talking about the partnership with Solana. But I started to look at some things with Aave. Okay. I started to do some research and I started asking myself, okay, well, what was the last time Aave was at a very low? Okay, I'm going to bring up this chart again. I'm going to bring up the this supply and demand RSI type of indicator. We're at the lowest we've ever been. Literally lower than we were here, right? We're lower. The lowest we've ever been, which I think is bullish. Number two is the last time we had a push down and we were at the bottom of the market was around this time. Was around, May, June of 2022. So I asked myself, what happened in this time? What happened during this time? So I did some research and I found out that in June of 13 of 2022, Aave, or actually June 24th, or around this area, Aave had a huge hack, a massive hack that really, really hurt Aave. But what happened? That actually became the bottom of the market for it. It took some time, but that was really the first push down, and then the market consolidated and then pushed up. So it's not interesting to me that we had a hack happen. And right now, I think we are at a great position. I've been talking about this for a while. Aave under $100 is a massive steal. If you do not have Aave in your portfolio, I highly advise to start, adding it, start looking into it, because this is a sleeper. This is a project that most people aren't talking about because it's a boring project. But same thing with with Chainlink. They are going and doing big partnerships. They're providing a lot of things in the marketplace. And I'm not going to lie, in my opinion, this is just my opinion, Aave and Chainlink are the foundation of crypto right now. If Aave and Chainlink disappear or something super bad happens and whatever, really the whole ecosystem is cooked. Like for real. Because of so much partnerships that they're doing, I just think there's so much dependence on these two. And that's personally why I really like both of these. And yeah, I did. I did. I went kind of pretty deep with Chainlink. So yeah, so we're saying that Chainlink and Aave are really fundamental in the blockchain right now, in my opinion. And yes, they're both at gray areas. Again, because of the fact that Bitcoin is already moving, these are going to lag behind them. So the fact that Bitcoin is already moving and these haven't moved yet, that is a really good indication that there's not going to wait much longer for things to move. I'm not saying about all-time highs. I don't know about that. I can't tell you that. Nobody really can. But that's my biggest POV within that. So Janice said my Aave DCA zones are 60 to 80. Is that too low if I do not own? So what you're saying is you're looking to buy in those areas, like 80 or below? If that's the case, I mean, I'm not gonna lie to you. It wouldn't hurt you to DCA a little bit earlier than that. Just my opinion. Now my piece of advice is this whole time, anything under $100 per Aave is a good DCA. So you can start DCAing now, and then the lower it gets, the more you can DCA heavier. But I personally think I wouldn't wait for too lows of price action. I've been in that position before. Sadly, I didn't catch the lows of the last bull run because I was waiting for lower pricing. That was one of my biggest breakthroughs that I had in the last bear market, was that I wasn't buying because I was waiting for lower pricing and lower pricing and lower pricing, and lower pricing doesn't always come. So when you see indications like this, mostly when you see Bitcoin starting to push up, this is when you start wanting to look at altcoins. Okay. So hopefully this makes sense. Now, the last thing I wanted to bring up is something actually that Max Terrell in our platform has been giving a lot about, and really talking about what happens after war. Right now, obviously, there's war with Iran and everything going on. And as you can see, this chart, it's actually on Fidelity, and it's crazy because they actually use this as like a question that people ask. Like, how do I protect my investments during bear markets or war times, right? And they use this perspective, and they made this chart, and they gave this perspective and said, well, if you look at history, what happens after, this is obviously the S&P 500, which is just, I see it like investments as a whole, but what happens to investments after a war or a negative, very negative, global event? Well, you can see that every time after a war, after something very negative, the market has pushed up. So I had my predictions of 2026. I really thought it was going to be like an all-time high year. I personally don't think that anymore. I think there will be potential upside. But I think 2026 is setting up for 2027. Shout out to Jordan Morgan. He's talked about that multiple times. He sees 2027, 2028, and 2029 being very bullish. And then 2030, he doesn't know, right? We could see, it go different ways. But I really think we're living in the best times. Even looking at something like indices as a whole, I mean, guys, we're all-time highs right now. We are all-time highs with the stock market when it comes to the indices. And there's a lot of opportunity when it comes to stocks. There's a lot of different opportunity when it comes to stocks that we've been talking about. I think I saw this. So I'll end it with this. I believe, I don't know, I didn't do too much research. Paramount and WBD. I think they approved it. Yep. So as of April 2026, Warner Brothers shareholders have overwhelmingly approved the deal for Paramount to buy WBD. That is a very great thing for Paramount. It was between Netflix and Paramount, but Paramount won, which I personally like better, just because of the opportunity. Paramount, I think, is one of a very big sleeper, a part of the NASDAQ as well. And I see that a lot of these different stocks are lagging behind the NASDAQ, the S&P, a lot of different reasons for that. But guys, there's a lot of different opportunities when it comes to stocks. Circle is something that I started to accumulate myself. I really like Circle. It's literally the owner of USDC, which is the #1 stablecoin in the US. I think is the most legit. I don't think anything is legit, but compared to Tether, and something that you can actually invest in the stock market. So I personally really like Circle because, for example, yeah, it's just like giving yourself access to the stablecoin market is such a hack because that's where the money is right now, and that's where the money is going to be heavy, is going to be in stablecoins in crypto. So in order for you to have exposure, Circle is a way for you to have that type of exposure as well within that. Now, another thing I want to talk about is start to look at Disney. Okay, I talked about Disney right here. I called it out on crypto and assets, and we were up around 14%. I like Disney, anything under $100. I really like Disney's, guys. Look into this. The financials are great. If you know how to look at the financials from Patrick Kinney, look at the financials. They are really good. Their money is up. They're profitable business. And guess what? They have huge movies coming out this year and next year in 2028. Like I dropped the list in the Discord and Powerhouse. If you guys haven't seen that, go ahead and look at that. There's huge movies going on. So I personally am very bullish on Disney, but I want to see around $100. I probably will be DCAing into this next Friday because I'm starting my DCA process every single Friday now, probably for the rest of the year or until we start to see higher levels, then I won't continue within that. So guys, with saying that, I appreciate y'all. I know I didn't go through everything, but really anything right now is looking really well. I'll probably will dive into other different projects. Today, I talked about more about Aave. I went a little bit through Chainlink. I talked a little bit about, Paramount, Netflix, Disney, and also talked about a little bit about Bitcoin as a whole. But right now, all coins are starting to fuel up. I highly recommend to start looking into this. And if you're plugged in with Zenrai and Powerhouse, this is the best time to be plugged in with the education. Study the education because I'm telling you how this, these moments will be remembered, but some people will take advantage of it, but not everybody will. So again, appreciate you guys for being on today's call. I'm excited for these calls to continue to grow. Highly advise to send this to somebody. This will be recorded, and also next week we'll be on here probably at the same time. If not, we'll let y'all know within the free channel and or our chat on Instagram. But with saying that, I appreciate you guys. You guys have a great evening, great weekend, or great rest of the day actually. And I'll see you guys on the next Crypto and Assets. Peace.